From service to strength, from questions to choice, guidance you trust, her vet voice.
Hello, YouTube, and welcome to Her Vet Voice. Tonight, we are going to be talking about VA claims and peer review articles, and we have our two raters with us, Natural and FF, and we are about to get into it. We do not want to be here too long. This is not going to be a lengthy video, so join in, ask your questions, share your input, and we're just going to get into it. All right? So, Natural and FF, say hi, introduce yourself, and let's get the show on the road.
Hi, everybody.
Good evening, everyone.
All right, guys. So, as discussed, we are going to be talking about tonight peer review articles and the step-to-step process when you are filing your claims. So, before we get into the peer review articles and how they work, we are going to talk about the step-to-step process of exactly how to file your claim. And then once Natural gets finished and FF comes in between, it's going to be just a good show all around tonight. So let's get into it. Natural, you ready? And FF, if you have any input, you can definitely just go on and join in the conversation. If you guys have any questions, put it in the comments. Say hi that you're here. Thank you for joining us tonight. And let's get this going. If you are on TikTok, you can come on over to YouTube, Her Vet's Voice, and join in the conversation over here. All right, let's go.
Go back some slides.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Good evening again. This is Natural. I am tasked with explaining the VA claims process. And this PowerPoint will help us have a better understanding of how the process goes. You go next. Let me see. Can I go next? Oh, there. Okay. I'm getting used to this. So our agenda is, of course, I don't like reading PowerPoints, but I'm going to go ahead explain how the VA disability claim process works, clarify what veterans need to submit, outline timeliness and decision points, provide tips to avoid common delays, highlighting what happens after the decision is made. What is a disability claim? It is a formal request for the VA benefits related to service-connected disabilities. They can be physical, they could be mental, and they can be illnesses. This includes an initial claim, a supplemental claim, and appeals. Types of claims, self-explanatory on the screen, but I'll read them just in case. The first claim is an initial claim. That is the first time you're ever filing a condition. And an increased claim is a condition that has worsened, that you're already service connected for, and you feel that that condition has worsened. The secondary claim is you have a primary service connected disability that has worsened, that may have caused some other disabilities like migraine headaches, IBS. It could be from your medications that you take from your primary service-connected disability. It could be other diseases that have manifested from that primary disability. Just anything that your primary condition has caused to either exacerbate and or occur. The supplemental claims are new and relevant evidence submitted claims. So if your initial claim was denied, this is when a supplemental claim is needed to have the VA to readdress a condition that you believe should have been service connected. With the supplemental claim, you would need to actually have new and relevant evidence that we did not consider the first time when you submitted your claim. Also, with the supplemental claim, you would also have to submit new documentation. New documentation means like maybe a new nexus, maybe an peer review article. Maybe you went and got a your primary care have wrote you a nexus letter. You may have a condition that was treated for your from your primary care that was not submitted at the initial claim. The appeals process, the appeals is when you feel that the supplemental didn't work and you've been denied multiple times and you request a BVA hearing. That is what a appeals, and that takes a little while to get to. Let me see, next slide. Okay. So when you guys ask me and FF, what are the steps? I'm on step 1, I'm on step whatever. We can't see these steps. All we can see is when it gets to us ready to rate. So in this step 1, this is what to consider. This is you preparing to submit your claim. Like it says, what to consider. You need to review your service treatment records and decide what conditions you feel that was aggravated or created by an in-service event. The type of documentation you should submit is your service treatment records, of course, any private treatment records that you may have that the conditions may have been treated for outside of the VAMC. You should consider sending buddy statements. And I'm going to say, if you have a primary care that would write you a independent medical opinion, go ahead and submit that also with it. And in this stage, you could probably consult maybe a VSO, maybe a claims agent, not claim sharks, but a claims agent. And you also can do the research and submit this claim yourself. Let me see, next slide. Okay, step 2, where to file. Where to file this would be va.gov. That's easy to Google. Just go any Google browser, any Bing or anything like that, va.gov. If you're not familiar with va.gov, we do have a class in the works to do a step-by-step process on how to enter that, but that's just not tonight. But stay tuned, that is coming. The first step, if you've never filed a claim, you would need a VA form 21-526EZ. This is for your initial claim. Your initial claim is a VA form 21-526EZ. You can either file online, in person, or by fax. Submit all your supporting documentation with that 526 and anything that you feel relevant that would support a service connection. Okay. Evidence gathering phase. What happens at this stage since my case has been filed? Okay. The VA may request service records if we don't have them of record at this time. We may request private medical records. That's if you have alluded to you've been treated on the outside and we don't have those records, we will send you I think it's a 21-4142 where you would have to complete it. It's like a release of information. You will give the VA authority to request your private treatment records on your behalf. At this stage, some CMPs may be scheduled, and all the submitted evidence will be reviewed. This typically is the longest phase of the process. Step 3. CMP exams. These are typically conducted by a VA or a contracted examiner. We are familiar with QTC, VES, LSGS, LHI. One of those will contact you. It is best they will contact you either by phone, by mail, or email. However you submit it, how you want to be contacted, that's the way that they will contact you. They will call you a number of times to try to schedule. If you do not answer the phone and you have no response, that CMP may get counted as a no-show because we could not contact you. However, let me say this: if the VA contractor contracts you and you do not have contact, we do not make contact with you, they will send it ready for a decision. However, the rater will send it back because we cannot deny a claim based on the veteran not being able to contact. So you will have another chance to be able to come and complete the CMP. At the exam, they will evaluate the severity of the service connection. You should describe your symptoms and be honest and clear about what is going on with you with this disability. Don't over exaggerate. Don't try to take extra documents to influence the examiner. Just be natural. Give it your best. Give it your shot. You don't need to just fluff it. Just stick to the facts of your exam and what you're there for. Do not give any extra information. Just stick to what you're there for.
Yes.
Missing the exam can delay and or deny a claim, and that's only if you are considered a no-show.
Okay.
So if you happen to miss that appointment, I would suggest that you call the 800 number and tell them why you would make the next exam so they can reschedule that next exam as soon as possible. Now, this part is where the raters come in. Once the exam comes back to the VA, to the regional office, we will review the documentation submitted. This is why I said be patient on this one, because a lot of people get at this stage and they're like, oh, my claim is not moving. It's just been sitting here for months and months, and it's not. Here's the thing. There are limited raters and there are limited examiners at this time. So we are working as hard as we can to get this done as sufficient and as quickly as possible. So at this stage, this is the stage where everybody would love to have us just make a decision right away. You don't want no one to rush on your claim. You want them to review all the evidence. Now, sometimes on this step, what will happen if we have an exam and it's insufficient, we have to, some of the information that was submitted in the CMP, it conflicts with the evidence that we have a record, it will get sent back to the examiner for clarification, or if the wrong exam was ordered, we will have to send it back to get the correct exam. And that's why you will see it go back to step 3 on gathering evidence, because we don't have enough evidence at that time to rate your claim. Now, if we have enough evidence to rate your other conditions that you may have pending, we will go ahead and take care of those. But those that we cannot rate at that time, we will do a deferral for exams and clarification or whatever it is that we are needing at that time. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. So typical timeline, I got this from one of our classes. Now, these are not exact. So don't be like, Natural told me that this is exact. It is not exact, guys. It is not.
These are not exact timings. Okay, put in the comments. Not exact timelines. Okay,
these are approximate, guys. Approximate. Okay, and they're kind of self-explanatory. But if you need me to read them or whatever, I can. But just drop in the chat that you understand what you're seeing. I can't see the comments right now, so I guess because I'm presenting. But
yes.
Yeah. So are they saying they understand?
Yeah, they're understanding. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. After decision, this is where we get all these questions, right? Okay, hold on. Let me go back. So for when on the review, when we get the decision, when we get the exams, this is where we review all of the evidence. We issue the decision letter, the service connection status, the effective date, and the payment information will be on the slide before that I was speaking on. That's this, not that stage, but this stage here. Okay. So after the review, if you are approved, congratulations, kudos. If you happen to get 100%, don't come back. Don't don't come look for us. Okay. What should you do if you are denied? First, read your letter to figure out what it is that we base the denial on. If you have questions, seek feedback from your VSO. Find you a claims agent. Come to her vet. Do a consultation. Those things. If you don't understand why you were denied, and or come to one of our lives, and we will help you through that process. Review the evidence that you submitted. See if it had any validity to support what you did, but do not submit that same evidence again because it's gonna not be counted as new and relevant evidence. Explore new strategies. Okay, this didn't work. Let me go do some research on some articles. Let me go review some BVA cases and talk with your VSO, talk with your claim agent, talk with her vet, talk to anyone that can help you understand the process on why you were denied. At this, if you were denied, you can file a supplemental claim. Now, let me say, at some of the stages, guys, ask for a hearing before you jump to a HLR. Ask for a hearing first, because sometimes hearings can resolve a lot of things before you go to a HLR. The last thing you could do is a appeal, Board of Appeals. And again, Board of Appeals can take a very long time. But before you jump to the Board of Appeals, again, review your evidence, look at your narrative, look at the evidence you submitted, and look at the decision letter and determine why, and have a clear understanding before you jump to a BVA decision. All right, common delays. Excuse me, guys. Common delays: missing medical evidence, missing CMP examinations, incomplete forms. The RO might be waiting for outside medical records. They might be, it might be a high volume claim. If y'all were on the live the other day, Friday, and I said I had one that was 125 contentions, that high volume claim, that's going to impact, that is a very high impact on your claims process. That's probably one of the larger systemic driver force that delays your claim. Now, in the larger ones, if we have some exams back, we will go ahead and rate those things, and then we would defer the rest of them that either we need more evidence, we need clarification, we need more information from you. It's just a number of different things. Missed exams, that is probably like the most moderate, but it will highly impact, your claim, but it's less. It's probably maybe one of the second highest delays is missing the exams. Waiting on medical records is a high, significant, extended process. So that's why if you're being treated on the outside, just upload those documents when you first submit your claim, because you don't want that to be the reason why your claim is just sitting there waiting for us to make a rating decision. Incomplete forms and documentation, that's probably a moderate to high delay. Sometimes people submit 526s or 0995s and they don't sign them for whatever reason, or their POA has signed it, and then the veteran has since rescinded that POA. So then we now technically do not have a proper claim on file. Then that would trigger us to send a letter to you asking you to submit a form. Also, if it's not signed again or it's on an outdated form, it's just a number of reasons why the form process, it could hinder your case. All right. Right now, as of 2026, this is a little bit of information for you guys. The VA has 571,000 pending claims in the national work queue right now.
Wow.
There's
Wow.
95,000 backlog cases pending over greater than 125 days. So when you guys come on here and ask us why your claim is not moving, I just told you why. It's
Wow.
all right.
It went down.
Yeah, it did, because it was very high. Okay, tips, and I'm almost done, so excuse me, guys. Tips for a strong claim: submit all your evidence at one time. Okay. Provide clear medical documentation. Clear, I mean, it supports everything that you are claiming. There's no guessing for us. There's no, well, maybe there's a possibility. No, we have the evidence. We have the in-service event. We have the diagnosis. We have current medical documentation to support a claim. Let's rock and roll. Okay. Use a VSO for guidance, like I've been saying, or a claims agent, and or different platforms that you guys are using to help you understand the VA process. Again, you got her vet. You can seek her for a consultation at any time. Keep copies of everything that you can get your hands on. That means your service treatment records. That means your private treatment records. Make it easy, guys, on yourself. As we have stated in many of lives, take time, go through your documentation, highlight, do a content page. Hey, I was treated for my knee on page 67. I have x-rays for my back. Make it easy. Don't convolute with 3,000 pages that have nothing to do with your claim at that time, because that takes time to scan all those documents, and we find 2 pages that's related to your knee and your back. Only submit the evidence at that time that you are claiming. If you're claiming a back, a knee, asthma, or migraines, submit the documentation you have relevant to those claims. No extra is needed. Additional resources you guys can look up is va.gov, e-benefits, local veteran service organization, DAV, VFW, American Legion, your county VSO offices, and you also have her vet and me and FF when we come live. Thank you, guys, and I hope that you guys are had a good understanding. If you guys have any questions, you guys can ask them. If you need me to go into any more detail, just let me know. And that concludes my presentation.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I hope you guys are here live and in color and listening to everything that's been going on. So you just got the process of how the claim process is seen from the rater's point of view, what happens behind the scenes. You heard how many people are in queue along with you. Okay. So that means you need to be patient. But the most important thing that you heard was to read your denial letter. That is the absolute most important thing that veterans do not seem to understand that needs to happen. That needs to happen. You have to read your denial letter. You have to be able to understand what they are saying. And we've been saying it for months. Okay. And we still get people that come and be like, I haven't read my letter. I don't know what my letter says. I don't know what do you mean? I never read it. Read your denial letter, guys. It's imperative.
Please read it. It's for your benefit.
All right. So next we are going to talk about peer review articles that can be used while you are submitting documents, while you're submitting evidence to your, in reference to your claim. Okay. So I know a lot of people do not know this, and this is something that's not really discussed. And this is why we're coming live tonight. You can submit peer review articles with your VA claim. Okay. So FF is going to take over. We're going to talk about these peer review articles. If you are on YouTube, can you please say hello in the chat? If you are on TikTok, can you come over to YouTube so you can ask your questions? Because I am not able to monitor both screens at the same time. Okay. Hey, Raider HQ, how are you? And thank you for joining. He says the sad thing is that most of them are short form narratives, which doesn't explain much. Thank you for that, because there are some Raiders who give some information that really doesn't explain enough. But we do know that the two Raiders that we have here go into detail to explain exactly everything that needs to be explained. So thank you, Raider HQ. So
Yes, thank you. Can I say something, Hervette, please? So
Mhm.
the only time that I use a short narrative is when I'm granting. And I do put a lot of detail into the grant. I also tell them what the examination said and why. My narrative, my denials are very detailed. They are long narratives all the time. So I don't talk like highly medical in the narrative. I kind of put it where the veteran can have a level of comprehension, because if I'm using all these big medical terms and citing all these laws, of course the applicable laws that are governed by why we're denying have to be in that narrative. I put all of that, but I also explained it in a way I think of it like not like a rater. I think of it as the veteran that I am. Okay, if I'm reading something and it's above how I can have a level of comprehension, you can't do it where it's so convoluted into where the veteran is not going to know. They just going to know that they're denied. They're not going to understand why that it's been denied.
It's been the
Natural, you got an echo.
I'm muted.
Okay. All right, FF, are you ready?
Yeah, I need you to share the article, please.
Okay, which one? The sleep apnea
Let's
one?
do the one that's not. Yeah, both of them are on sleep apnea. It's just that one isn't really effective. So show that one first.
Okay, hold on 1 second. The insomnia one first, or the other one?
One from Sage Pub.
Prevalence. Okay, yeah. This one?
Can't see it.
We can't
Hold on.
see it.
Oh, hold on. Let me add it to the stage. That's why. There you go.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Okay. So this is an article that doesn't support a claim of sleep apnea. Now, it does mention the rate of OSA or obstructive sleep apnea for veterans to non-veterans. The data in this article is self-reported. We had the data set answer questions via internet or the phone. It doesn't provide an affirmative causal relationship among the veteran population, and the analysis is incomplete. So whenever you're submitting evidence, you need to make sure it supports your argument. This one, bottom line, it just says veterans have a high prevalence rate of OSA or obstructive sleep apnea. That's the conclusion of this article. And that's not helpful. It's not material. We already know you're a veteran with OSA. That's what you're claiming. So whenever you article, don't just simply look for something that contains a diagnosis of what you have. You have to make sure it's going to show us something different, something else that we can reconsider, something that's going to say, you know what, maybe we should look at it this way. Sometimes when you submit it, again, you might be able to go ahead and get an exam, like if we can see another causal relationship, then okay, that's new and relevant information, assuming that you've already done it and that this is going to be your supplemental. If this is your first time and you just want to submit an article, that's fine, but this isn't really beneficial. The one I'm going to show you next is beneficial. Can you go ahead and pull that one up?
Yep. Give me 1 second. This one. Insomnia. The insomnia one, correct. All right.
Okay, so, is it up?
Not yet. 1 second. This one. All right, let me remove this one. And let's go.
This one is from the Sleep Health Journal.
All right. Let's go. The sleep one. Okay. This one.
You see it, natural? Okay.
You
Okay,
see?
yeah.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so this article includes full military studies with service members. It documents the variables used in the study. The data isn't self-reported, but from a confirmed data set. It includes several causal relationships. They're identified and verified, which is what you need when you're submitting your articles, okay? Now, this study examined clinically diagnosed insomnia and sleep apnea, and it analyzed the association with deployment, combat exposure in active duty soldiers. This article also calls to attention the difference in the sleep disorders. As a rater, I've been able to see that sometimes the veteran gets, well, I don't want to say confused, but sometimes the veteran may not understand which sleep issue they have. So insomnia is a disorder characterized by dissatisfaction with the quality, duration, or continuity of sleep. Common symptoms include difficulties falling asleep, waking up in the middle of the night with difficulty, going back to sleep, and or waking up too early in the morning and being unable to return to sleep. Sleep apnea is a respiratory disorder characterized by intermittent reduction or apnea of breathing during sleep. Depending on breathing effort, sleep apneas can be classified as either obstructive sleep apnea or central sleep apnea by measuring the thorough abdominal movement and its contributions to respiratory volume. OSA, or obstructive sleep apnea, which is caused by the collapse of the pharyngeal airway that blocks the flow of air into the lungs, is the most common of the two conditions. This article includes both insomnia and sleep apnea, and it shows the grave concerns in all walks of life, but especially in safety-sensitive and inherently dangerous occupations, because failure to obtain sufficient quality sleep has been associated with numerous long-term physical and mental health problems. I also like this article because it allows you to see different ways in which you can connect it to your service-connected condition. These include increased risk of hypertension, diabetes, obesity, heart attack, stroke, depression, anxiety, substance abuse, PTSD, suicide, neurocognitive deficits. And this is from all groups in the military. So it's specific to the military. It doesn't contain a random group of regular civilians who aren't doing anything close to what you were doing. They didn't experience what you went through. So this is paramount to a veteran. It is for you. So you want to make sure when you grab your articles that it pertains to you, okay? You don't want to just grab something, I don't know, high school students, random people working at fast food. Make sure it's for veterans, okay? Let's see. It also specifies about service members who routinely slept less they're more likely to have diseases of the nervous system, mental, behavioral diseases, digestive issues. So when it comes to submitting your articles, please make sure, if you've already applied and this is going to be your supplemental, it's new and relevant, okay? If this is your first claim and you're just trying to establish a link, this would be a good article in addition to your current diagnosis, right? Because we've been here for months, so we know we need a current diagnosis, okay? And then that'll help you move forward in your claim. Please remember that the article has to apply to you directly. Otherwise, it has no value. This is about you, not your buddy, not your neighbor across the street. So your record should reflect the discussion in the article to some degree. It doesn't have to have everything, but we need to be able to have a causal link, okay? Mm-hmm. And we want you to make sure it's a scholarly article. And if you have a specific situation like rhinitis and you're trying to show the relationship between the two, then you'll find an article that supports that relationship. And it doesn't have to be a drill down, like it doesn't have to say exactly rhinitis. You could search for a broader term like respiratory conditions and sleep apnea. And the article is great support for the claim, but a diagnosis has to accompany it. For example, when you submit your claim, you would write sleep apnea secondary to respiratory condition. Mm-hmm. Please make sure your sleep study is already complete and an actual diagnosis was provided. You can submit the claim as sleep apnea due to weight gain as an intermediate step, due to possible back or knee condition. And I'm going to briefly go over what new and material evidence is, okay? Because we get this a lot, and the information that's being submitted isn't new and relevant. So for claims to reopen, the following standards apply. A claimant may reopen a finally adjudicated legacy claim by submitting new and material evidence. New evidence is evidence not previously part of the actual record before agency adjudicators. Material evidence means evidence that by itself or when considered with previous evidence of record relates to an unestablished fact necessary to substantiate the claim. New and material evidence can be neither cumulative nor redundant of the evidence of record at the time of the last prior final denial of the claim sought to be reopened and must raise a reasonable possibility of substantiating the claim. Now, this next part, you all can go to your CFR. You can just Google it. CFR 3.159, Department of Veteran Affairs, Assistance in Developing Claims. For purposes of this section, the following definitions apply. Competent medical evidence means evidence provided by a person who is qualified through education, training, or experience to offer medical diagnosis, statement, or opinions. Competent medical evidence may also mean statements conveying sound medical principles found in medical treatises. It would also include statements contained in authoritative writings such as medical and scientific articles and research reports or analysis. So you're covered under this section to go ahead and submit those articles or that medical research that you found. So if you find yourself in a situation and we don't accept what you sent in, review the evidence that you submitted and just say, does this show them something new that I haven't presented to them already? If your answer to that is no, then it's going to be a valid confirm and continue. But you are covered under section 3.159. You can use articles, so don't let anyone tell you that you can't. Just make sure when you're submitting the evidence, it pertains to you. You already have your diagnosis, and it shows us something different. It helps us establish a link for you. Does that make sense?
Yep. Makes good sense. Do you guys have questions? Raider HQ made a comment and he said, for me, the most prevalent grants are for OSA is intermediate steps for obesity, TARA, other reasons. I've personally never seen OSA with a positive MO for secondary to mental health other than nocturnal panic attacks.
I concur with what he said. But what I would say, it just depends on overall evidence, because I've seen stuff that I've seen denied multiple times, and sometimes you get an examiner that comes, and says yes there is, and then they submit relevant evidence, studies and things of that nature that supports it. So I think it's just a roll of the dice when it goes to the examiners. But he is correct. It's very hard to link it to a mental health, but I've seen things, that I've seen denied multiple times, and you have that one examiner that veteran goes to, and it happens. And I just wanted to address something when what FF was saying. The regional office consider reliable evidence from official government sites, medical or scientific sources that establish a clear documented link between your current disability and your military service. Those are the most trusted sites that you guys can get information from. They come directly from a federal, state, or accredited medical record. And like I said, official government, medical and scientific evidence sources, professional legal representative websites like your VSOs, your DAVs, your VFL, the VFW, and American Legion, and VA accredited attorneys and agent website. You do have, like FF was talking about, the peer evidence, personal lay statements. What you need to avoid, in my personal opinion, is these unaccredited people, these claim sharks, and like general websites like what's that, WebMD.
Yeah, like that first one was terrible.
Yeah, the first one, the Sage and the Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wikipedia. Yes, that's the one I was. Yeah, that is.
That
not
hadn't been accredited at all.
Yeah, that's just someone.
You can't even use it as a reference in a paper.
Right.
So, guys, just make sure when we're doing these, it pertains to you. And for the secondaries with the OSA, the ones that I've seen for mental health most often are depression and PTSD with alcohol abuse, because that relaxes the throat muscle, which restricts the breathing. So those are the ones that I've seen approved for the mental health. But they both had alcohol abuse disorder. But again, go ahead.
In my opinion, honestly, I feel that sleep apnea, I said all the time, is very hard to establish after military service. And that's probably one of the most common claim condition that people are trying to get. Snoring and sleep disorders and stuff like that. Typically the sleep disorders typically corresponds with a mental disorder. But snoring is not an indication of sleep apnea. I think that the people who get service connected for sleep apnea, they had it in service, and there's already a clear etiology that has been established. But it is in my opinion, it is very, very hard. So I've seen people try to secondary it to their back, their knees, their rhinitis, sinusitis. I've even seen people try to do it to tinnitus. Those claims, guys, it's now when you're doing your back and your knees and stuff like that, I could see where you're trying to do the intermediate step to obesity. I have seen one that was, the examiner came back with a positive. Now, Tara is not excluded from that, but Tara's are, those are kind of hard too, but it's not impossible. We're just saying that is one of the hardest things to get service connected even on a direct or secondary basis, in my opinion. If anyone has anything else, to add to that, that's just in my opinion.
Raider HQ did give us a shout out before we go on. He said, "Can I push people to your channel? I caught a lot of heat before I retired for being on YouTube, and once I got over 5K subs, people at my RO started to know who I was. And this is why we try to keep Natural and FF very, very discreet, because we know the intentions of people. And I am so sorry that you had to go through that. It is very crazy with the fact that you are here to help veterans, and they would, let me add Rada HQ to the stage. Hey, Rada, how are you? The Rada HQ did say that the Mayo Clinic is a pretty solid source for examiners as well. If you have your questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We're going to do questions for a while. And if you're on TikTok, you can come over to YouTube to ask your questions. I am going to put the articles that FF went over tonight, along with a couple of articles in the description, where you guys can link those articles and use them for your claims. So, hey, Raider, how are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Good, thanks. Thanks for joining us.
How you doing, Raider HQ?
Yeah, how are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. I am mesmerized. It is nice to see two competent raiders just in the environment. Honestly, I wanted to ask you, do you want me to push people towards your guys' channel here? Just because I can do such a thing.
Sure, that would be great. I started going on YouTube about 8 or 9 months ago, and on TikTok. So we're usually live on TikTok on Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I am not a raider, but I am a veteran. I do consultations for veterans to give them strategy of how to file their claims. And I decided to create this space for veterans to come to get free information instead of going to like Claim Sharks and all these different type of people and paying thousands of dollars where we can give the information for free. And so I made a decision 2 weeks ago to come to YouTube, where we can actually show information and be able to relate more to veterans and give them the more hands-on things that they need. And this is why we're here in this space. So this is our second week on YouTube. I am new to YouTube, so please forgive me. I have no idea what's happening behind the scenes, but if I welcome anyone who wants the information, who need it, and it's going to be beneficial to them, I would definitely appreciate it.
I wasn't sure if Natural and FF are a common part of the show, or
they are. Yes.
Okay. Like, the reason why I'm wondering if you guys want me to push people towards the channel is because once I got above 5K subscribers, I started catching heat at work.
That's crazy.
No, like they do not like it. Like whenever I started talking about long form narratives versus short form narratives, and like the fact that if you submit a private DBQ and you get a subsequent VA examination, then they kind of burned your private DBQ and found it to be insufficient. Because if it wasn't insufficient, they would have accepted it, My coach started getting on me. I was retiring anyway, so I didn't really care. So that's kind of the reason why. I mean, I'm happy. I don't like to be the only game in town, and I'm horrible at YouTube. So I like to say, like, I like to give other people options and just push as many people as I can towards your guys' channel. But it does come with some risks.
Well, I tried to keep the Raiders as discreet as possible. And so if we have to go to changing the whole voice aspect of things, then I think we would go down that route, because I want to make sure that their livelihood is secure. And it's based on how you, FF, and Natural feel as well. Give some input on this, how you feel, and, how you would like to go about it. What would you think?
I guess I'll just take Raiders HQs and ask him what does he think is best. I don't know.
Oh,
we're just trying to help,
No. Oh, I get that. But the thing that I got confronted with was, well, you're a public trust level 3 employee. You could be coerced. What are you doing on the side?
Oh, wow.
Did you clear it through your chain of command? Because I'm also a clinician, so I'm a mental health provider. And I started my mental health practice up while I was still rating. And I had to get that cleared through my chain of command, through the VSCM. And yeah, they did not like they didn't care for that. Like, they didn't mind that I was providing therapy. It's when YouTube was found out that they were like, what are you doing?
Wow.
What is your,
That's in that
what is,
clause that they make us sign.
yeah,
I had
yeah.
to get
So
my law cleared, and I could only do arbitration. And then one of them, because I was doing arbitration for FINRA, but they handle our finance at the BBA, so you have to sign, and they do their little checks. But I don't know.
yeah, so I'm just putting it out there just because, like, I see you guys at like 125 subscribers, which, is great for the first 2 weeks, obviously. But whenever you reach a certain point, people will recognize your name.
Yeah.
Will get around. So I'm just putting that out there as just a, from one recently retired Raider to whatever your status is.
What do you think we should do?
But
Alter our voice, or
I mean, obviously, don't ever say what your your RO code is. Don't
Oh,
be as
no, we
discreet as
don't do
possible.
that.
No, they don't.
We don't. We never tell where we're located at. We never tell where,
Yeah.
because we've had people come in and ask where you work, what RO you work. We, all that. We never give out that information.
Yeah.
And typically anything that we say on here is Google. And I mean, you can find it. So I don't do anything outside of what I do on a daily basis. I don't take any consultations. I don't help anybody with no type of claim or anything of that nature. I think that if people, because there are on TikTok, and I'm sure you saw, there are actual examiners that are going live and they're offering Nexus letter, and they are VA contracted examiners. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Nurse
my
Jackie.
thing is,
I know. I've talked to her.
Yeah, there's plenty, but our thing is we're just generally here trying to educate, because we don't like a lot of the information that are putting out. A lot of convoluted people that like are veterans that think they know the process and they don't, and so they're steering veterans in the wrong direction. So we are trying to have a channel where we're keeping them on the right, telling them what they want, and not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear, right?
Yeah, and that's half the reason why I started my channel, is because my RO, whenever the Terra Pact Act, happened, there was that big old vacuum where the VSRs transitioned to Raiders, like a lot of them did, and we had this like knowledge vacuum in the VSR realm where nobody knows what they're doing. I started my videos to try to train, because I was a QRT liaison Raider, so but I also did QRT liaison for VSRs also. I don't understand why, but I did videos just to help teach them, because people were messing up so much stuff, like supplemental claims. They were getting exams before checking for like service connected conditions. Wow. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves, is whenever VSRs would, if the veteran service connected for something and they're just disagreeing with a prior rating decision, they'll get an exam for the points rather than check to see if it's necessary.
Right.
And
we still deal with that.
Exactly.
We still deal with that. But that's why we kind of steer. We can't do anything about what a VSR does or anything that can, but as good raiders, like we try to explain on the channel, like, what we do as raiders and what someone else do is totally different. You know what I mean? We kind of go above what we should do, and it's about educating, and I'm sure maybe if they did ask me, I would tell them, like, I'm not doing, I don't have any dog in this fight. My thing is strictly educational purposes. But thank you for allowing us to know that. I appreciate that.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah.
Because I have a lot of VSRs and raters that actually watch my videos, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know about that." Like 38 CFR 3.309A, like they don't know how that works, you know. And I'm like, "How do you not know how that works?"
Wow.
It's a little bit
Well,
challenging, but
it is, and of course now the ROs are changing every day on from this to that, and the CFRs and the manual is changing, and like we try to explain to people, the manual is online, you can look at it, but your interpretation of that is different than what our interpretation may be, or what what I'm saying. So
Yes.
like if you have a question, come, and so we can clear up the misunderstanding
Information.
before you
Yes.
go
yeah, the
file your
misinformation.
claim. Yeah, that's what we're doing. I don't personally, and I know FF does not. We never volunteer where we're at. We don't do none of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, even though you don't do that, your voice is unique.
Yeah.
We get it.
It's a matter of time. So, yeah, so it's just kind of scary because I was kind of, taken back by the fact that somebody recognized my voice and was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
Until like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? What's the scope of this? Are you taking money on the side? Because there's a lot of money involved here.
Yeah. Yep. You're
A
right.
lot of threat for coercion, but if you want,
I'm not going to Fed, so you ain't got to worry about me doing that.
I'm not either.
I'm not going. No, I don't like the color orange or stripes or any of that.
Yeah. Well,
So
let me try to drag some more people in here.
Well, thank you.
We appreciate it though. So, do you still have your channel up?
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I watch them all the time. Yeah, I'm usually in the bushes watching.
Oh yeah, I'm on here.
We appreciate the support because me and FF be getting inundated with questions. So it's nice to have another competent rater on the panel tonight to be able to help filter through all these questions, and because people paying thousands of dollars to these people to help them process their claim, and we're like, stop it.
Yeah, and it's so challenging. Like the misinformation is staggering. How the bifurcation, like how far the way the process actually works versus what people think it works, is so far apart, night and day, Grand Canyon level of difference.
Yes, it is. Very much so. Yes. So we have a couple of questions if you guys want to join in. And Rhonda is asking, how easy is it to get approved for TDIU if currently at 80%, one rating at 70%, and for PTSD, other diagnosis at 10%?
Well, since rated HQ is on here,
he can take it. The word that stands out to me is easy. Okay, it's easy. How easy is it to get?
It's subjective depending on the job that you used to do. If you submit a list of job duties for your prior job, that helps the rater, because the decision on TDIU comes down to the rater exclusively. So a non-medical person is going to make a medical determination for TDIU, unfortunately. And if you don't submit a job duties list with your TDIU submission, you make the rater's job very challenging to potentially grant you. I know it's subjective. It's more subjective than the opinion of the rater. Like some people, some raters are anti-TDIU and they lean more towards denying. Some are more favorable. I mean, it's the luck of the draw. It depends on how disabling your conditions are whenever they do the economic impact assessment exams. Just my opinion, though.
And here's the thing, I agree too. So here's the thing: if you are currently working, and typically if you file for IU, it's typically going to be a denial unless you can show that your condition is hindering you, impacting you so severely that you cannot do any type of duty, and that includes sedentary work. That sedentary work means you sitting in front of a computer putting in information, telemarketing, things of that nature. You know, you don't necessarily have to work with people to have a job. You don't necessarily have to be in an office to have a job. So like Raider HQ said, submit your duties. Like everybody gets a duty description of their job. Submit that, and then you talk about how your mental health or whatever disability you're claiming is impacting and where you can't perform those duties. And like he said, we do send it for a medical examiner to tell us. They can't say that you can't work, but they can say how it impacts your job.
Yeah.
I had another question that says, what percentage of the 500K claims are far-reaching? Sleep apnea and other things are hard corrections.
I don't know what the context of that question.
Yeah,
So the
I don't.
What percentage of, they won't be able to tell what the percentage of the 500K claims. It's in the
Were they
kit.
asking what's reworks or
national
like,
work queue, like
national
that information's not disseminated down to the rater level. I mean, the regional office, like the VSCM manager, might have that information, but typically it's what gets pushed into your queue. You work your queue. The VA is really siloed in that you just do your job and don't look around. At most, for my personal experience, we would get sometimes those numbers at the quarterly town halls, and that's it.
Right.
All right, I'm going to go to another question. I'm trying to manage the YouTube and the TikTok because it is a little bit, somebody asks, can you discuss aid and attendance and what actually makes a spouse qualify for aid and attendance? I'm a little bit confused as to how to go about it. We get this question all the time on aid and attendance.
Are they asking in reference to the veteran or the veteran spouse?
The veteran spouse. It looks like the spouse.
That's more on the VHA side. I don't. We can give it, but go ahead. Go ahead, Rita.
Sorry, no, you go ahead. This is your guys' show. I'm just a guest.
No, you can.
I'm happy to be here.
We have
welcome to answer. It's fine.
Yeah, you're welcome to answer. We have a very calm, positive type of respect. We respect, you know, if you're coming on and you're providing great information, we will, because we don't know everything, you know, even though we're raiders, you know, there's different perspectives. So when it comes to the spouse, the spouse can, the definitive answer is yes, the spouse can, but there is a criteria, like always, that has to be met.
So in my opinion, the problem comes down to having to, once again, this is a decision that's made exclusively by the rater. And the rater is typically not a medical provider. They don't have a medical background. So the evidence that you submit has to be so easy to read that you could hand it to your neighbor, to somebody that you don't know, and they would be able to say, oh, it's clear that this person can't do their activities for daily living. They can't wash themselves. They can't bathe. They can't, cook. They can't clean, whatever it might be. That they need an outside person to come in and do those tasks because medically they are impaired from doing that. So the evidence has to show that impairment. One of the easiest ones, in my opinion, to show a non-medical person that it's true is medication management. If you have external documents showing that the spouse needs another, like a nurse, to come in to handle medication management, that is the easiest way to prove to them. Otherwise, you're oftentimes dealing with the bias of the rater. I don't believe that. I don't know. I don't think that that's true, because there's no procedural way to grant that. It comes down to the person being, basically convinced that it's true.
Right.
I don't know. That's
the
just
evidence. The evidence.
I'll take the evidence as is, unless it seems fishy.
Fishy, yeah.
Yeah.
and it really does. You have to show that it's just like the veteran. You have to show that that person is incapable, basically, of taking care of his or herself, for us to have a clear understanding on, okay, yes, this, like, say if the veteran's spouse has multiple sclerosis, then yes, if you know what multiple sclerosis is and how that affects the body, then yes, you know that that person is going to need, ALS, those type of things, severe cancer, those things. Those are again, but if the person just has, like, oh, they can't, they have to use a walker to ambulate, and they may need someone to come in a couple of days a week to prepare meals or clean. That's not really, you can still do things, but you're not able to do it at 100%. But there are certain disabilities that we can say, okay, yes, that's plausible that that veteran's spouse, and if the veteran has severe limitations, then yes, we can kind of come to a, okay, yeah, it's, we can grant this. But if we don't have a clear understanding of that, and it's explained in a way that we can say, well, yeah, that person needs it, and that's what happens. A lot of people just write, oh, my spouse needs aid in attendance, and that's all we get.
So make sure you have all the evidence when you submit it so that it's clear. There's no room for misinterpretation. The reason you need the aid in attendance is service connected, not something else that your spouse has and they just need help. Just make sure it's service connected, all of it's complete. When you're submitting it, and your claim will go a lot faster for aid in attendant.
All right. The next question is, good evening. I have 100% single rate PTSD at PNC. Apply for ANA. Would they consider my other disabilities, 50% migraine and 50% sleep apnea? They're static towards my ANA.
It's gonna. Oh, yeah, you go ahead.
No, you.
I know where you're going with this. I know where you're going with it. So I'll let you take it. I know where you're going.
Yep.
Okay. Here's the thing. I often say I don't like the word PNT.
PNT.
I just do not like it, because nothing. If it hasn't been static and it hasn't been in place, for what is 20. Let me just say, if you put in for those things, then you're saying there that you need ANA. All of that is going to go for an exam, right? And the examiner, sometimes you run the risk of losing all of that just to get an extra $120 something or whatever aid and aid. It's just not really worth the risk. But if those disabilities are causing you, what about those disabilities are causing you to need ANA? That's what you first need to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can have all of those and still be able to function, still be able to dress yourself, have medication management, able to cook.
Correct.
All of those things, you can still have all of that, and none of that really technically impacts your ADLs or anything like that. So just be mindful of the things that you are, just because it's out there don't mean you have to go for everything.
And that's the biggest thing. I think once they get the whole 100% PNC for that one thing, they automatically think that ANA is an automatic thing. It comes into play if you don't meet the criteria for what ANA represents, then it's not. If you're helping yourself, you're doing everything that you do. And then the VA looks to see if you are actually capable of taking care of yourself in the way that you say that you are, right? They look into those things. And I don't think veterans really clearly understand, like, for instance, the whole migraine thing. Do you have migraines that bad that you're not able to help yourself to a point where it's going to take you to a place where you're not going to be, your hygiene is not going to be taken care of, and your health is just going to deteriorate? They're never going to see it like that. Never.
Yeah, and that was more. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Because I was going to say, when we look at stuff, we look at everything. So we'll look at what your current rating is for it, and then we'll go explore. We'll go look in your VAMC records, and we're going to see how many times were you treated for your mental health, your migraines, and whatever other condition you're claiming. If we look in there and you say you go to the mental health and you're like, oh, my medication is helping me, I'm feeling fine today. You have no complaints of your PTSD just keeping, I'm in a great mood, those things, we're gonna know that it's really, you don't really need that much help. You're just applying because you know the criteria for A, you need to read it, because if you're not blind, you're not bedridden,
Yeah.
and you're not in a
Helpless.
you're helpless, so helpless that you, it's basically you can't, you're not gonna get that grant.
Yeah, you need to
Now-
be able to have go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say that I think part of the reason why the ANA comes up is because in this scenario, the person is S1, right? Statutory housebound based upon the single 100%. And that realization of, wait a minute, I can get more than 100%. That's where that, then I can get this, then I can get this, then I can get this. There's this kind of knee-jerk response, the psychological response that happens whenever somebody gets S1. But PTSD, in my opinion, is by far 1,000 times harder to get ANA for, because nobody rationalizes, okay, you got PTSD, I get that. How can you not cook for yourself? You know, like, how can you not do the laundry? Like, if they don't have PTSD or they've never experienced any or had family members, it's hard for that rater to put themselves in the other person's position, because that form doesn't explain much.
Yeah,
right?
the 2680
much
does.
detail.
Yeah.
And then the final thing on that is, if you don't list the conditions on that form, we're not reviewing for it, right? ANA is only reviewed for what's on that form. So it's not a catch-all thing, you know, type, I don't know.
Right. So if you just say PTSD, that's all we're gonna send for, and we're gonna review. And it sometimes when the doctor fills out that 2680, sometimes they say the veteran is able to leave the house on their own. They're able to drive to their appointments. They can ambulate. They can do this. So and people submit that, and I'm like, did they not read this form before they submitted it to us? Because clearly you can still do. Yeah, clearly you can still do these things.
Yeah. And it's duties of daily living, guys. Okay, so that should be the most important part. If you're unable to do that, then it would be reasonable for you to look at, you know, getting some assistance. But if you can do the regular things for yourself, just be mindful.
Yeah, submitting negative evidence against themselves is one of the biggest things that we've been encountering here. Right. The next question is, can an examiner overrule favorable findings? Right. You know what we talk about, favorable findings. VA conceded element 1 and 2 for headaches, but examiner said no element 2. Claim is not adjudicated yet. So I submitted a 4138 asking for an exam. Is that a bad idea, I guess?
Well, one, how do you find it? And the claim hasn't been adjudicated yet. I'm not understanding right now. How do you know this?
Sometimes they go to their VSO, and the VSO will fast track them. Yeah, they'll show them the medical opinion before it even hits the
they aren't
rater.
supposed to do that.
They can, catch me.
The decision is complete.
Yeah.
So here's the thing:
the situations before they even evolve, and that's one of the biggest things. Like, before something even evolves with their claim, they just go to these rash, you know, ways of thinking, and just beat themselves up for no reason.
Yeah.
As we stated before, the exam is one part of the claim process. Just because the examiner says, oh, it's not met, doesn't mean it's not met, because that's the job of the rater. When we get it back, we review the evidence. And if we have supporting evidence to refute what that examiner says, then we will send it back and ask for clarification, or we will ask the examiner to opine, you know, why is he, you know, where is he getting that information, or where is she getting that information? Because we have clear evidence to, you know, show something different.
No.
So don't just.
And I only ask once.
Yeah, me too.
If the clarification isn't submitted properly,
But if the
It doesn't
evidence
take
is
all
there
that.
for us to grant, we will. If we have the evidence that can override, we'll do it. I'm not gonna say
This
everybody,
exam, he said this exam with the VAMC, it showed up in my blue button report. That's how he got there.
Fantastic.
Oh.
Wow.
Now, one thing I will say, okay, and this is a very complex topic, but
Mhm.
examiners do have the right, whenever they're looking at like direct service connected conditions, they can look at that element 2, that in-service event, and sometimes go, you know what? Upon review, I don't think that that injury would have caused a permanent chronic disability.
Mhm.
And they'll essentially rewrite element 2, discounting it. Even though you get a favorable finding, you were denied for missing element 2 and element 3, the in-service event and medical nexus, because the examiner said, hey, look, I don't think that would have caused a chronic disability. I hate it when examiners do that, because oftentimes raters don't catch it, and they'll give a favorable finding of element 2, but in order to overturn the previous denial, your new and relevant evidence has to include a new doctor that resets that element 2 and says, no, after reviewing the evidence, I think it would have caused a chronic disability. And not only that, but I think the chronic disability is, and the one that they have right now are the same thing. You know, so that's something I've seen historically.
And then that causes for us to do what? A reconciliation of medical evidence.
Yeah, the tiebreaker.
Mhm.
That's what we always called it, the tiebreaker medical opinion, the reconciliation medical opinion. Yeah, we called it the tiebreaker.
So someone asked a question about submitting negative evidence against yourself. What does that necessarily mean?
So if you said you had that being in the service caused your migraines, and then we get a review of your medical records and it shows that, I don't know, you had migraines 10 years earlier, probably, yeah. It's not necessarily positive.
Flooding medical, actually flooding theories for service connection. So providing like 4 different theories for service connection at the exact same time. If you do that, it makes it more challenging for the examiner to get to that 50-50 percentile on one thing, right? If you say it's direct, it's secondary, it's TERA, it's also MUCME, 38 CFR 3.317, and you provide competing evidence for each one of those to be true, it detracts from them to be able to focus on one thing and go, you know what, I'm going to put my hat in on that. So I always advise people, pick your strongest theory for service connection, focus your evidence towards that one theory. And if they say no, then you pivot to the next one. The more, the more, you know, the less reasonable, but the second in place version of it. And, yeah, so that's my,
And then wait a minute, Herbert.
Okay.
So you guys on secondaries, we talked about this before. You can't claim something secondary that happened before your primary.
Correct.
So
I was just about to say that.
If you're claiming a migraines to PTSD or whatever, and your migraines got diagnosed, say in 2018, your PTSD came in 2024. There's no way your PTSD could cause your migraines if you had a diagnosis prior to that. So be mindful when you're trying to do secondary situations, because if we find medical evidence of that, it's not going to be granted on a secondary basis, regardless if we have a positive secondary or not. We're going to have to send it back, or we'll have to deny because we have evidence that it occurred prior to what you're claiming it to.
Yeah, you would have to say aggravation or something.
Yes, 38 CFR 3.310B, right? Because 3.310A is the normal secondary. 3.310B is the aggravation secondary. Yes, and that is like whenever I've explained that, I just threw it into secondary aggravation. I just threw it into the aggravation category under 3.306. I just said they're both the same, similar. They're just different ways of thinking about it. But veterans don't want that. You don't want the aggravation secondary. You don't, because
They
we'll
don't.
subtract the
That's so hard.
pre-existing. We'll subtract the pre-existing symptoms from the current symptoms, and you won't get the maximum amount typically.
Wow.
Correct.
That's the baseline
Correct.
message you all see in the narrative.
Yeah.
Yes. Somebody said, were you talking about an Allen, right?
Talking about a what?
Oh, the Allen aggravation.
The Allen aggravation.
Alan.
Yeah, because what happens is if you have the issue, like when you come in on your entrance exam, then you have to prove like, hey, we made it worse. Now,
Yeah.
there's some, if it's not noted, that's the presumption of soundness, I think.
Correct. Yes, that's
If it's
you're
not
correct.
noted. So just make sure you have the right one. Don't just throw things together because it doesn't really support the claim. It just kind of looks like you haphazardly got a
But
diagnosis.
here's the thing:
where it came
some
from.
veterans tell on their own self. So even though
Yes.
they didn't note it on the entrance exam, they may go to the doctor. And I'm going to use migraines just because migraines. You're going to sick call and you're complaining. Oh, when I was 16, I had headaches, because they're going to ask you, have you had a history of migraines before, headaches before? Your answer is yes. When I was 16, I was playing football, I got hit, and I had, then you're telling us already right there that those headaches existed prior to service. That's going to trigger a rater to order an aggravation exam, because the service did not close your headache. It may aggravated them, but a lot of times I see when we get aggravations, the examiner will say, well, no, it wasn't aggravated beyond its natural progression. But what happens sometimes is the VSRs don't see that, and they'll order a direct. Well, we'll get a positive direct DSC. Then when the raters get it and we see it, we send it back, and then the examiner say no, and then we have to deny it with a favorable finding.
And it's locked to that theory, unfortunately. See, that's the worst thing about it, is once you find out, like once the presumption of soundness is broken, and you can show evidence, and there has to be objective evidence, like medical documents showing that the condition pre-existed service or the entrance exam. Technically, you're not supposed to use the veteran's words against them because they might not be accurate reporters, I guess. I don't know. But once it's flagged under 38 CFR 3.306, that's the only way it can be granted.
That's it. All right, let's see if they have any more questions here before. Does the tiebreaker go to the benefit of the vet?
It goes to the benefit of the, I ain't going to say absolutely. I'm going to say it goes to the evidence of record. That's what I'll say. It goes to the, I'm not going to say always. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But it's the overall evidence of record that is weighed.
Well, if I have a 1-in-1, I give it to the veteran.
Well, we typically don't have a 1-in-1. We usually have a 2-in-1.
Yep. That's my opinion on
If
it.
I determine the evidence of the record sufficient, right? Like, let's say they send in a valid DBQ and medical opinion. It's valid.
Okay.
It's not insufficient. Maybe the person before me said whatever. No, that's not right. So I give the tie to the veteran. We weren't supposed to order another one anyway.
Well, I've seen that when we've had a positive opinion and for some reason they go back and we had the evidence of record, then I go that way. But if we have one that says no, then we have one that says yes, then I go to the tiebreaker. I don't ever weigh on either, if I have a no and a yes, I don't weigh on that. I look at the evidence and I submit it. I submit everything. I call it following the yellow brick road. I go back and see what should have been done versus what we did, and how that exam request was asked, how it was asked to that examiner. And typically it'll be some crazy stuff like, oh, it's the veterans, migraines, as least likely as not related to I'm like, what? and then they don't really submit all of the evidence to support to help the examiner. So there's different ways to look at it, you know.
I have a different opinion on this. So for me, my opinion is there's almost never equipoise or balance with the evidence. There's almost always it goes one way or the other. Like in FF's example of like getting the private DBQ and somebody erroneously orders an examination. Well, if I find that DBQ and medical opinion are sufficient for rating purposes, then there is no competing evidence. There's only that first one, and I'm going to grant based upon that first one. Now, I will combine symptoms from the DBQs together. I will do that. But typically, in my personal opinion, the tie goes to the veteran has to do with the medical opinion itself. That's where the 50-50 goes to the veteran. And I have a really weird perception on that. A lot of people don't share my perception on it because oftentimes, like whenever we review the decisions, it's like, okay, what's the medical opinion say? At least as likely or less likely? Which one? I mean, if the evidence matches up with everything, I'm gonna trust fall into that examiner's. Like if they provide a rationale that's sufficient, I'm gonna trust fall. I'm just gonna go, okay, sure, grant, you know, like whatever it is. And there's oftentimes never a tie, and we're always supposed to go back, and if there's any kind of conflicting evidence, we have to resolve that conflicting evidence. So it's never, in my opinion, it's very rare to find something where there's a balance to the point where the tie goes directly to the veteran. I don't know. You guys can disagree with me on that. It's just my own personal opinion.
Yeah, I look, and again, it is, you know, greater discretion.
Yeah.
But I feel like if we're doing a preponderance of the evidence, right? And one couldn't convince me the other way, it goes to the veteran for me.
Gotcha.
That's where it goes.
Yeah.
Someone made a comment and said, this technical jargon is discouraging me for applying for secondaries.
Oh no, go ahead and apply.
Oh, I know.
Just
We
know,
were-
guys,
You know, we've had this conversation before where using the different jargons and the different medical descriptions to veterans, sometimes it could be just so challenging. And a lot of people that I consult will be like, well, I mean, I'm just calling it, it's a ringing in my ear. And some people call it tinnitus. And sometimes when I go in there, I just don't even know what they're talking about. Like, what is, and I'm looking crazy. You know, we talked about this before where sometimes the medical technology gets them hung up so much, and they're so hung up on the terminology of what it is, and actually instead of actually the disability and what's actually happening with them, and everything just goes haywire. And so they get carried away with the jargon and the terminology instead of focusing on this is what I'm experiencing.
The veteran has to do is talk about their symptomology. It is not up to them to they're not well, some of them are not providers, so they're not going to be able to say, oh well, yeah, I got tinnitus. Like you said, they just know they have a ringing in their ear. All you're supposed to do is focus on your symptomology and convey that.
Correct. Yeah, that's mostly sometimes a challenge, that they focus on the wrong thing. Besides not reading the letter, they focus on the wrong thing. That's always going to be the thing, right?
Or a lack of
they don't have to know the
preparation.
medical condition.
Yes, you know, that's a topic that we really have to get into. Mitch said, Raider HQ review the full case of Gilbert versus Dewinski, not just the outcome. Okay. Yes. One of the nights we have to definitely talk about is the main reason behind the denial letter, what purpose it actually serves, and what type of information you are required to have going into your C&P examination, or before even filing. What do you need? I don't think that that's something that has been narrowed down or beaten down enough. When we talk about the relevant medical evidence that needs, it's like it goes over their head and they automatically go to, oh, my buddy says that I have this and I'm going to go file it. But they're not crossing their I's and dotting their T's behind the scenes to see, do I have what it takes to go and do what my buddy thinks that I should do?
Yeah. But before we lean into that, can I ask you both, or well, all three of you? It's fine. What are your thoughts about case law? Because I'll tell you right now, when coming to YouTube, I have been mesmerized by people going, but what about the case law? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't care about the case law. I care about what the M21 says. And then I care about the 38 CFR because case law will never give me a quality error.
Right.
Not following the M21 manual will give me a quality error.
Give me a quality error. Correct.
I like my job, you know, like, so I'm gonna follow that manual. So there are like card carrying, case law holding people here that want to just argue the case law. And I'm like, look, I don't care about case law. I caught so much flack for saying I didn't even know about case law before I started YouTube. Like, I didn't know that people even cared about it because case law gets filtered down by the VA lawyers and stuff into the M21. The M21 is a procedural manual that, instructs average people on how to do medical legal things. I don't know. What are your thoughts about case law? Please help me with this.
I appreciate case law.
I appreciate case law too, but my thing is, I think that's more that comes along the lines of like you have the claim agents and they're trying to argue that we didn't consider, like if we denied something and they're like, oh, you didn't consider this case law or you didn't take into account. Yeah. But when you're rating, case law, we have to input those in there. And then there are certain ones, that we use to support why we're denying, but that is not the first thing a rater looks at. You know what I mean? We look at if that law supports the grant, but yes, it does impact, the claim process and, the key components of the concept, like when we use duty to assist or, what I'm saying, stuff like that. But I feel like I think that's more when veterans go talk to once they have been denied and they go talk to someone outside of the VA, they be like, oh, well, they didn't apply this case law and this. And so that's their argument to get the veteran service connected, and sometimes they have valid points, but other times you can't refute the evidence, regardless of the case law.
Or show me in the VBMS drop downs or the check boxes where you're going to hand jam in.
Well, in my view of case law, I look at it.
Go ahead, FF.
Go ahead, FF.
Uh-oh.
Are you there?
Is she there?
Is she there?
Oh, I'm sorry. When I look at case law, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, gosh, I don't know what's wrong with it.
No, we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? Oh, okay. Yeah. So when case law and if the reference from the veteran, we know why they are applying it. It's because it's something that they heard, something they think that they're qualified for. But I always look to the heart of the case law. Why does it exist? What is the purpose of it? Have we met those requirements, which again are in our M21? But as far as like a personal line from the veteran, I don't take extra time. I look at the whole of the case law and what its purpose is. Because my goal here is I don't want them to have to take it to the next step, possibly because something was misapplied or wasn't interpreted properly. But that's my view on case law.
Yeah.
I just never found a time to apply it. Right? Like reviewing it, like, obviously it's referenced in the M21 manual in some places, but I don't find any, like, because somebody on like supplemental claims, you'll see when the accredited attorneys put in a supplemental claim, you can tell because they're like, pursuant to the second case law of Shinseki v. so-and-so, you didn't do this. And I'm like, I'll read it. I will read it, right? I did read it. But then I just go back and re-adjudicate the supplemental claim with the evidence of record at the time, and then they get what they get, right? There's no, oh, shoot, you didn't hit the Shinseki box. Like there's no space for you to interpret that or to even articulate that on a code sheet note. Hey, I decided to make a hard left turn here because of this case law specifically. And it's like, QRT would have your your fourth point of contact on that one. They'd be like, explain to me what manual reference you use to apply that. I never really found the ability to apply it in extraordinary circumstances to advocate for a veteran, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And when I look at case law, I mean, it was pertaining to that specific veteran in that moment, right? And so we know that no disability is the same, and it doesn't, but
Right.
I look to see exactly what it was about, how it came about, and then apply that. But applying case law to another person, I don't really see the benefit of it.
I think most of them use it just like as a point of reference, like, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. Like they have a high level overview of what it's for. And as the rater, you know what your duties are and your job is, and you're going to apply it. I think the veteran just says, hey, by the way, don't forget, you're supposed to look at this. And then if it gets escalated, it goes to the BVA, they're going to use that law because, again, in the adjudication process here for the VBA versus the real world, they rarely overturn a decision that was made by the previous judge. So when it comes to the heart of the matter, why are we using this case law?
Oh, they took my thing.
Oh,
They took my comment away.
Hold on. Where's your comment?
It banned my comment.
Oh,
It banned my comment.
Who did that?
It's fine. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home.
No.
I was just saying, guys, we can't ask any personal questions of these two raters. Their anonymity has to be, because some of the people from my channel are coming over, and we can't, even though it's great to ask questions like that, we cannot ask them for any personal information.
How do I unban?
Oh, I did see it was banned.
Yeah, what?
It's fine.
How do I fix it, Raider?
It's fine. You'll have to go to your YouTube channel, and then you'll have to go to settings. And
my settings. Okay, I'll go back.
Yeah.
I was trying to. The other person who was asking about their personal thing, I was trying to click it, so I was probably on the wrong one.
It's a thing.
That's
We
fine.
get asked that so many times. No one is going to why don't y'all just focus more on us being here to help versus where we work, who we are, and all that? Y'all focus on the wrong things. And if that's what you're going to focus on, maybe you need to find somewhere else, because we're not going to give that information.
No.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because the anonymity has to be there, because there's the potential to coerce raters if their identities are known. So that's why we don't do it, guys, is because you put the raters in a position that is uncomfortable for them and potentially causes them problems. So that's the Doc with the caps.
Quit asking. I'll tell them. Stop asking, because we're not going to tell
that's
you.
true. Thank you.
Yeah, and then you go to
RSVR's gone downfall since what? I rated. Okay. Why would you say that? Why did
natural?
Did that say?
Natural. Nothing.
Yeah,
natural.
Doc Shelley was a rater back in the day, so there's quite a few raters on here. But
okay,
gone down. Well, I ain't gonna say all of them, but I would say that there are some that I question myself, but that's why we're doing things like this and coming on trying to educate individuals on the correct way. I can't speak for all the thousands of raters around the world. You know, they have a job to do as well, and that's why we have QRs, and that's why we have training, and that's why we we have raters that sometimes are better than others. That's in any job. You have someone that's better, always, but it's a learning process. I don't care how long you've been rating, you always learn something new.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to be educated to rate, but it's more along.
You talk about the process that raters definitely have to go through to rate. Like, it's not an easy task. Definitely not an easy task.
It depends on your process, to be quite honest with you. The raters that don't have a very good process typically find they struggle the most. So, but because I've met some that just for whatever reason they couldn't get their process down, and it was very challenging for them.
Yeah, and I see that, and I have other raters that's under me that I actually mentor, and I'm really, and it's just, I remember years ago when I started rating, I questioned my life every day on should I be doing this.
Not the lie.
Isn't that the truth?
I
You
did.
did,
I was like,
you did.
I did.
That is the
It was-
truth.
it is very difficult when you first start rating to, especially when they let you off second and you're out there by yourself and you're like, you have 20 million questions. And
Wow.
then, because we have production, and then you have others that, they may have a good process, but everybody's level of learning is different. So I can't teach someone where I am today. I can't teach a person that just only been rating a year what of all the stuff that I know. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but some of your learning process comes from when you commit those errors, when you have to go back and right your wrong. It's just a learning process daily.
And I have a very bad personal opinion of QRT, because like whenever I first started out, before my 25 months rating, I ended up listening to QRT, and there is nothing more maddening than getting a quality error and them telling you to fix it, and then getting another quality error for the thing that they told you to fix.
That's why if you get a QR error,
It's a hot mess.
I've called CUEs on droves. I've called CUEs on QRs. Just because they're a QR don't make them right. So,
but they'll fight like they are. They'll fight those errors.
They'll
Third
fight
review.
it for 3 weeks. They'll fight it for 3 weeks.
To the death. To the death.
Yes.
I had
It
them
come down to difference of opinion. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Difference of opinion. But whose opinion wins? Yours? Oh, great. Cool. I had them try to argue that I should have gotten a secondary examination. I should have deferred for a secondary examination for fatty liver.
That's a lab finding. So why would we do that?
Yeah, it can't even be granted. So I'm like, I just told my coach, I'm like, fix them, go handle them. You don't, I will embarrass them publicly. Whoa.
Oh.
Do what you will with him.
What I should have done
This
in a long
lady
time.
not smart.
Instead of banning you, I should have banned him.
Yeah.
What is
Now I gotta go fix it.
He didn't say
You gotta be
anything
nice.
natural. He didn't say anything at all
Didn't
natural.
say
Okay?
anything. We're just.
No, you didn't say
Didn't say
anything. You're
anything
great.
natural.
I mean,
It was perfect.
it doesn't cost anything to be kind. Kindness is free, guys.
No,
We're
it's
just
all right.
here to
Let me sit over here and mind my business because I don't want to.
No, you get back over here. You're the showrunner on this. You gotta.
It's always a person who's sitting behind a keyboard that is a warrior that don't have nothing better to say but to spread negativity.
I think Doc's having a bad night, but unfortunately, that's kind of the testament to if I start sending people over here, you're going to get a little bit more of that. You're going to get people digging into you a little bit. It does suck.
We don't care.
I mean, and it's okay because people want to know, but you're not going to try to come here and bully us. That's not happening.
Yeah.
That's not happening. Because I have
Find you something to do. Go watch TV. It's Sunday. Did you go to church today? Did you go to the altar and have God?
He can't even hear
He's
what you're
gone
talking
natural.
about.
He is gone. Okay.
Some of y'all
He's
need
gone
Jesus.
natural.
Some of y'all need
Natural.
Jesus
He's
because
gone.
I ain't the
I
one.
mean, and it's okay. And some, people can say whatever they want to family. It's just that,
Those
there's
pants.
just some things you don't say. Like, even if that's what you're thinking, just keep it to yourself. It's
Well,
okay.
and it's not like anything on here was said that was provocative or anything like that. I mean, everything, like the reason why I was interested, because I watch a lot of lives and whatnot, but it is just nice to have raters on that know what they're talking about. There are a couple out there, right? But how do you feel about, like, let's say people giving and sharing information in which they've never worked for the VA, but they're like, the raters think like this.
Oh,
Yeah.
This is what the rater thinks like.
We've
And I'm
been
like,
going
what
through
are
that
you
on
talking
TikTok.
about?
We've been going through that on TikTok.
Oh
It's
my
wild.
gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, well, as soon as the VA starts hiring again, I suggest you
Apply.
Switch the
go
job application.
and apply. Just because you are 100% don't make you know what our job is like. Everybody wants the rater to be at fault, and that's just
Oh.
not the case.
Yeah, not the case. Yeah, correct.
I have spent a significant number of videos trying to educate people that the
you
the
have.
raters don't make all the decisions. The
You
examiners primarily decide the outcome of the claim. The rater is the quality assurance person that just double check. Okay, do I have element 1? Yes, I do. Okay, I can see it right there. I have element 2. Okay, got it. And I have element 3. Got it. You know, except for like TDIU and aid in attendance and whatnot. I mean, then the rater gets. And I don't even think that we should have that level of power and control. But I don't know. That's just my own personal opinion. But
we got some people in the comments. Yeah.
What did I miss? Was somebody talking smack about Luna?
My dog. Sorry.
No.
Oh, that's your dog?
Yeah, I got a Great Dane. Well, I have 2 Great Danes. Yeah. And they're on the channel a lot. They bark.
You know what's funny to me? You have people like this panel per se giving great information and giving the correct information, and we get stuff like that. Then you have the ones that have no idea of what they're talking about or trying to make money off of, and they will be hook, line, and sinker on that. That is gospel, and that is crazy.
Or my guy or my gal says it, so it's true. And I tell people, don't listen to just me. See, that's why I'm happy that you guys are here, because I can send people here and go, look, you don't have to listen to me. I just want you to listen to the right, like, we can disagree on topics, and that's fine. Like, we can disagree, but we overall know how the process works. We might have a different application of the process, right? And that's fine, because it comes down to discretion of the rater.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to have more voices that know what they're talking about. And I cannot, like, it's just very nice.
Well, thank you. We try.
We appreciate. We try. We appreciate. Our main objective is just to help. It's not to talk bash anyone or downplay anyone. We just want the right information to get out there. We want veterans to get what they deserve. We say it all the time. It takes more work to deny than to grant, and I personally wish that every claim that we had that it could be a grant, but it's just not possible.
Yeah. The single most common, like, shoot yourself in the foot situation is when veterans say the word condition. They're like, I have a knee condition on their claim submission because it doesn't satisfy element 1. They didn't say I have knee pain. Like, whenever I told veterans about that I felt like I actually did a lot of good for the community, because half the time the YouTubers are saying, yeah, just tell them that you got a knee condition. And I'm like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. It doesn't satisfy element 1. The VSRs won't give them an exam if they have no diagnosis. I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately we can't reach everybody, but the ones that we do reach, we hope that the information that we put out, and we've had a bunch of people come on and say, based on the information that we've provided, their outcome of their case has gave them a positive, because I don't like people paying for nexus letters. I just have a problem with that. I and that's just me. Everybody don't have to go with my opinion, but
no, I don't. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of nexus letters, but hey,
what is your opinion on providing a long form narrative when you make the final decision? Do you each do it consistently?
I would say I do. I mean, I can't speak for every rater, and like Rater HQ said, it's just about the processes that you have. A lot of people do a lot of can text, and I can't stand seeing narratives like that. But it's just, again, I'm just gonna say it's about the processes. I can only speak for what I do. I can't speak for another rater, but in theory, we would wish that everyone done it's the same, but it's just not.
Right.
Yeah, because I have taught a lot of people about the long form narrative because of how if Doug Collins would make that change to where everyone had to do long form narratives to show the veteran the real reason why they were denied, we wouldn't have 3 million claims.
Many as denials. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Right. Well, we will have a level of understanding on why they are, and unfortunately everybody doesn't do it. I've seen where someone specifically, the rater, denied something and the narrative looked identical to the one that they denied prior. All they did was copy and and there's no way that the veterans, like, to me, if I got that, I'll be like, there's no way y'all looked at my evidence, because it mirrors exactly what my last one said.
Yeah, they just use the blow-in text. They just use the minimum blow-in text, and that's all they do. They don't explain anything. They give favorable findings because that's all that's required for the short form narrative is favorable findings, and whatever it blows in.
Somebody said, if nexus are hated, how does one make the connection for secondary?
We didn't say hated. We said
dislike.
Yeah.
Well,
we didn't say hated. We don't. I mean,
no,
sometimes
paying for them is bad.
Yeah, y'all paying for them is bad. But what we sometimes Nexus do, give y'all support and evidence. It may give us a reason to order an exam and a medical opinion. We're not saying they're bad. It's just saying stop paying for them. That's in my opinion. You don't have to listen to what I'm saying. It's just I hate to see people paying, $4,000 or $5,000 for DBQs and Nexus letters, and only for them to be like, oh, they're insufficient, and then you still have to go to a VA medical exam and get a medical opinion. You're out $4,000 or $5,000, and you may only get a 10 or 20%. I don't know
if it's even deemed sufficient.
Correct.
Right.
Somebody made a comment. Most VA docs refuse to provide private medical opinions. What is a veteran supposed to do but pay for specialized expertise if most doctors have no clue what a nexus letter is and VA doctors refuse?
Well, I would say technically, if it's your VA doctor, let me just say this. If you go to the VA and you explain to your provider like what's going on, and they document all that, and they say, okay, the veteran's going to try this medication or this and that, that is a nexus letter. Ding, ding, ding. That is medical evidence from a VA provider without you asking him to write a nexus. If he writes out, we're going to send this person to PT, we're going to send this person to neurology, he's acknowledging that you have these problems. That can be considered a nexus letter.
I would also say that just having gone through VA treatment myself, if you include the causal relationship in your treatment plan, so if you're like, hey, look, my back hurts and I think it's due to my knee, is there some way that we can include that in my treatment plan? Because I don't want to be on narcotics for the back pain, but can we address this connection? Can you please rule that in or rule that out? So, because if we can get my knees under control, then if it makes my back better, then I don't have to take narcotics, right? Can we make that part of my treatment plan?
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. And then that's a kind of a workaround backdoor deal too.
Next question.
I see this comment right here. The issue, yes. So when you
That's
go,
Mitch.
if you go
That's
see,
Mitch.
if you see a person in Florida and you live in Texas, and you see them one time, and they say based on what you tell them, and you have your 30% for PTSD, and then you see this person one time, and then they say you're total and impaired, and you have 100% PTSD, and then we go look at your VAMC records, and it says, there's no way that you can support 100% grant when the evidence doesn't show that. And then of course, those providers do not have access to your VAMC. They don't have access to your STRs unless you've uploaded them and submitted it, and they note that on that private DBQ what they reviewed.
Date ranges, locations.
Right.
I personally like it when veterans have the examiner interweave. Like the veteran's weight was 215 pounds as evidenced by their VMC records dated so-and-so. They had knee pain dated so-and-so. Like if they're, as long as they're referencing and interweaving that Capri, that medical VAMC records, that's what I found to be very probative whenever I was looking to see, because the authenticity, credibility, and sufficiency reviews are challenging for those.
Yeah, I like to see that they reviewed all the records.
Skins Forever, I think we answered this question about the long form narrative earlier.
Probably because they're just in a hurry.
It is more work.
More work.
To be honest with you. It is more work. And a lot of the times, if you're reviewing the evidence that thoroughly, it opens the door potentially to a clear and unmistakable error if one is there. Like if you see one, you can't look away from it, kind of situation. And, or you have to defer it back because you find conflicting medical evidence. Some people don't like to do that. They just, I want my points, I gotta get those 10 points.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Do you guys have any more questions? We have had like a tremendously great session tonight. Rada HQ joined us. They hope all your questions were answered. And definitely there'll be more to come. We usually talk about the things that are not mostly spoken about on YouTube. So tonight with the peer review articles, I am going to put the articles in the description so you guys can go grab those, because I've gotten a whole bunch of inboxes about those 2 articles tonight, FF, because so many people with sleep apnea want to grab it. Last question. Can you explain the point system for veterans and how it can impact work?
Not relevant to the veterans.
Not relevant. I don't think
our point system is not relevant. I don't
Natural?
like when people ask us about.
She don't like that question.
Because what relevance is that to the VA claim process? I understand why they asked the question, because yes, some raters just rate to rate. They don't, I can say that because of what I see. But there are people who, it's many days that I don't get my points. It's many days. I mean, because it could be for a minimum of, deferring cases back because they're not ready for decision. I'm not going to rate on something that I don't have enough evidence to grant a person or deny a person. I'm not going to just deny. If I don't have the SCRs, definitely that's going to be a big deferral, right? Because if I rate that, regardless if I have positive opinions or whatever I have, I can't rate that because that claim is that file is not complete,
developed properly. Yeah.
It's not developed. So there's a lot of reasons why I don't like the point, because yes, we are on production. That is a known fact. But the reality is every day, every rater does not make all their points.
Yeah.
Because of underdeveloped claims, the examinations are insufficient, CUEs. It's a multitude of things on why we don't make the points. But the relevance of us making points to us processing claim, I have 125
waiting for you tomorrow morning.
Waiting for me tomorrow morning. And my question is, where did you find 125 things to claim?
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I have a little bit different take on it, but I don't like the diminished returns past 6 contentions. Okay, you know how the points go down over 6 contentions to where they just slowly kind of titrate down. So I have met people that in my RO that min-max points, right? Like I used to triage my claims, right? I'd triage them in the morning because I'd want to do the quickest claims to try to get my points for the day. I do those ones first just to retain as much mental energy because it is mentally fatiguing to rate claims, and I don't think people understand how mentally
They don't.
exhausting it can be.
They don't.
And then, because I'd work 410s, that was my shift, was 410s. So I'd probably get my points for the day in the first 5 or 6 hours, depending on what I got. And then work the harder claims because my coach would give me like the hardest claim on the team to work. If somebody just couldn't do it, they'd give it to me. And then I would spend the rest of the day on that one claim.
Wow.
But
Correct.
I do know that sometimes like people cut corners for points. Like I call it like, do you guys have quality burning? Have you ever heard that term before? Like at the end of the year, the end of the fiscal year, where people, if they've got high quality, they'll go faster and potentially make more errors if they're kind of shot, you know, if they're low on production. Yeah, they call it quality burning. At my regional office, it was prevalent enough to where it got a name, to where
I call
people
it
would
top
do that.
sheet.
Yeah, top sheet, whatever. But it's a choice, right? Like people make a choice in order to go faster to get points, and they'll burn their quality because you cannot. It's a mathematical formula. If I have got 97% quality and it's August, I could fail all 3 of those before October
And
reset
still meet.
Yeah, there's not good actors out there, guys. I just
not.
I discourage the practice, but I don't know. It sounds like you're a quality natural. It sounds like you're a QRT liaison. Is that right? I want to out you. You don't have to answer that. Actually. There's very few of them. You know, like there's 1 or 2 per team.
We actually have another QA that comes in, another quality person that comes in our lives every now and then.
Oh, okay.
I don't think she's in here tonight.
I don't think she's in here tonight. No, I don't see her. The next question before we drop off: if you're rated sleep apnea secondary to PTSD, what are you looking for?
There has to be a medical nexus for that. It has to, you know,
sufficient rationale.
Yes. Thank you, Brady, because it's like sleep apnea is like stubbing your toe in the middle of the night and it hurts. And you're like, how can we get them to understand that you have to be able to have sufficient evidence to support the how PTSD can, yes, you can have a chronic sleep impairment, doesn't equate to sleep apnea. That's more under your mental side, right? That's a symptom of your mental. I understand that certain disabilities, back and knees, cause some of you guys to gain weight. You may have a thyroid problem and you develop sleep apnea. There's certain medications with different side effects. I get it. It's some of the wording you guys put on your 526, y'all just stick up there. I can't sleep. I snore. My wife said I snore and I got sleep apnea.
Give me that sleep apnea.
Yes. And I'm like, you know.
If I were to say something like, I say run it by your doctor. If you run your theory by your doctor and it makes sense to them, that's your dry run. If it doesn't make sense to your doctor, then I wouldn't necessarily submit it. Because and doctors, CMP examiners typically take the out of, there is no medical, biological, or physiological connection between PTSD and sleep apnea. You have to get more nuanced into the symptoms. Like if you have nocturnal panic attacks that cause you to wake up enough, arousal, you have an arousal to the point that your automatic breathing turns off and you just stop breathing because your body wakes up enough to stop the auto breathing. That is something that could potentially be service connected. I've seen that service connected quite a bit actually, but you have to meet all that criteria. Unfortunately.
Correct. Let's see, what's that question?
When rated, do you go back and lay eyes on the contentions on the 526EZ to ensure the VSR didn't make an error when transcribing?
You absolutely have to.
Yeah,
It is a process. There is a, because sometimes it's not the VSR inputting, it's that little system the VA's doing the what is it, like the AI type of thing where they do this, and the AI don't properly list the contentions correctly. Now here's the problem that happens sometimes. Some of y'all submit like 10 526s and they come in at different times. And so once the VSR has tested it and listed it, and that 526 comes in 2 or 3 days later, then sometimes yes, it gets missed. But it is the rater's job to go look at the case in its entirety. We're not supposed to only look at the evidence at the time that we have it. That's why queues happen, because we look at the case in its entirety, because that's what we're supposed to do as a rater. You don't look at just this narrow window like, oh, this is deferred, you just got to rate this. No, because here's the thing, unfortunately for raters, if I did a claim and FF get that claim and she doesn't go back and look at what I did, I could have made an error. If she doesn't look and catches it, guess what? If that is QR on her, she gets the error, not me. She will get, she gets that error. So it's imperative for us to look at the evidence from, that's why I call it following the yellow brick road. You have to go from the beginning of when that veteran got the claim. Well, I'm gonna say me, I ain't gonna say everybody. You go look at what has happened over the years to ensure. Some cases be so messed up from one rater can make a mistake and then all the ratings after that did not catch it. And it just cascades, and you got to clean up all of that mess to get it. And unfortunately, sometimes the veteran loses in those situations. Sometimes the veteran gains in that situation.
Yeah. I like when they gain. It makes me feel good.
Me too.
Yeah. It's a hard fought battle sometimes, though. And I will tell you, if you're somebody if you're a trickler, like if you trickle in 526s and you trickle in evidence, stop doing that, please. You exponentially complicate the effective dates. You exponentially complicate the opportunities for the VSR to mess up and miss something, for the VSR or for the rater to miss something, and for the authorizer to miss something. If you're going to submit something, collect it all, get it all together, submit it all at the same time. I know that that probably might not be advantageous for most people. You know, waiting sucks, but if you've got an intent to file, don't make it harder on the staff, because the veteran rarely wins in those situations, in my opinion.
And then you can slow down your claim.
Yes, drastically.
It slows down your claim, and your effective dates are going to all be off, because unfortunately, if you filed a intent to file, it's only going to really apply to that first 526. You're going to have different effective dates for everything that you have. And in your mind, you're thinking, oh, I submitted an ITF, I should have an earlier effective date. And then y'all come back, it's like, oh, no, y'all did not give me this. No. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. That intent to file will cover that first 526 or that 0995 that we receive.
And we're not going to get into this tonight, but I've seen a lot of Facebook posts last week about sending back, calling back, or submitting, trying to get back pay, and now you're warranted something else, and you're losing your 100% because you're chasing back pay instead of accepting the fact that you're going to get future pay. But we're not going to go into that tonight, because that's going to be a very long topic to talk about back pay when it's warranted. And that's something that we really want to talk about in this space, because I do consultations with veterans every day, and I get it. Well, my 100%, I got a reduction proposal. I get somebody calling me at the 54th day when they had 60 days to figure it out. So those are things, that's a conversation I want to have too, about the proposal reduction, the 60-day window, what actually should be happening in that 60-day window for veterans to understand the importance of the 60-day window and what they should be doing. And I'm going to annotate that so we can talk about that as well.
And Raider HQ, while you're on here, can you inform people on how hard it is to get SMCR?
Oh gosh,
please?
Yes. Before we
because we've been inundated because people are on these channels and on TikTok, and they're like, "Oh, you can get 10,000," and we're like, and they come in here and we try to explain to them, it is you virtually. Go ahead.
I've never even granted R before, but I know that it has to have VSCM approval, via AVSCM or VSCM approval, anything above L, right? Like it has to have like second signature sign off. And not just that, with I still have friends in the regional offices. With that court case thing nonsense on the half step, nobody knows what's going on with that, right? Like in my opinion, QRT hasn't even put out anything, like National QRT hasn't put out anything concrete on how to approach that. So you're getting mixed signals coming in all directions. So I think for the next 6 months, people shouldn't apply for that. But it is so challenging because it has such solid restrictions on it. If I'm recalling correctly, once you get above L, the activities for daily living aren't a factor. It's you don't have the use of both of your legs. You don't have the use, like you have to have very severe symptoms that fit within a very specific box. I don't have it off the top of my head, but a lot of people misunderstand and think, oh, well, I can just keep doing the activities for daily living and I can get a half step. And I'm like, no, that stops at L, right? And there's another one, I think, way higher than that might take into the account of, but honestly, like those are unicorns. Like anything above L are rare. Like I have never rated above L. I've done a T one time. Yes, I did T for TBI, but no R personally.
There's a YouTuber that did a video the other day about SMC. And the amount of comments that were in there saying, I'm about to apply for this. It just broke my heart.
They're misunderstanding, and I don't think they're getting information from raters. I think it's just
the people don't understand. And it's like, oh, I qualify for this. I'm going to apply for this. Thank you for sharing this. And because the caption says you can make up to $10,000 more.
That clickbait,
that grabs the eye, and then that takes it. A couple of questions before we go. What makes lay statements more credible in each of your opinions?
Who wants to go first?
Anybody?
I take them as at face value, unless the evidence of record shows why it shouldn't be credible.
I have to have corroborating evidence that the person making the statement could have known the information that they are making the statement for. The M21-1 talks about how like PTSD combat statements have to be supported by a DD-214 if the other person's a service member, because we can't go rooting around in another veteran's file to see if they were a veteran or not. So for me, you have to have corroborating evidence. Like if it's a spouse, I need to know that you were married at the time, that you even lived together, that you were in the same state at the same time, just to be able to assign probative value to that particular buddy statement or lay statement. I'm mostly talking about buddy statements. Like lay statements, it is what it is, face value. Sorry, I kind of went off track there.
That is, I agree with both. And what I would say is, if you submitted one, and I'm going to say it like this. When you very first submitted something to try to corroborate what you're trying to connect, if I read one lay statement and then you submit one like a year later, here's the thing. The truth is the truth. The truth doesn't change. So if you submit one and the story is drastically changing and all these other variables is in it, it's not going to be believable. So, and then you have people who, what you guys need to stick to is the facts. You are competent to tell us, yes, I was in Afghanistan, Iraq, and I was in I was blown up with an IED, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. We have to corroborate that. Like things that like PTSD, we can corroborate it off of fear if you were there, if we place you there. Like I said the other day on TikTok, we look at everything. And I don't think people think that. So when people say like, oh, I was in Vietnam, and I look at your service and you were in 1980, there's no way you could be in Vietnam. You know,
well, I mean, you could have. You could have, but you wouldn't qualify. I mean, it was still presumptive.
Well, you could have been in the country, correct, but not at the time of war.
Correct.
You were not. So let me say
I had that with a Persian Gulf person. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you know, then the family members, you know, that are trying to, they should only stick to what they see out of you. You know, they can say something like, oh, when this individual returned from Iraq, I saw a decline in this. They cannot speak to, you know, what actually happened to you unless they, you know, like you have medical and physical, you know, different things that happen to you. Yes, they can speak to seeing that. They can't speak to what happened to you there. So I think that people should talk about what they physically see and keep to the truth. Don't, if you adding a whole lot of fluff to it, it's gonna make you look disingenuous.
Yep. Correct. And I say that all the time. This is why I say keep the statement to very minimal information, because then when you start getting lengthy, you start telling lies.
And be honest, clear, and concise, because this affects your credibility, which is the purpose of you submitting your lay statements. And if we can't believe that they're credible, then it's probably not going to help your claim in the way that you intended to.
And if your condition, your mental condition is based off of seeing someone else hurt themselves or anything like that, we have to corroborate that. You may have the diagnosis, but we have to be able to corroborate that stressor that you are saying to us that happened.
Random. Mitch said, I once submitted a nexus opinion from an MD who was a former spouse of a veteran married in service, and it was reviewed as a lay statement, even with her being a VA doc with rationale.
Well, I would say, I don't know.
I feel like that's there's this. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, right there, HQ.
There's a section in the manual about like veterans being, you know, clinicians doing their own DBQs. There's a section in the manual for that, but there isn't a section for the spouse. So it should have technically been taken as a credible, objective statement. It just depends on what it was. Like, I could understand it if it was like PTSD and it was fear-based. That obviously has to be reviewed via a VA examination. Like, it wouldn't matter what the MD said because they'd still have to go to an examination, at which point in time the medical opinion would become evidence, right? Like, I could understand that fact pattern being true and it not being bad. But every other fact pattern would be like, why? That's not right, in my opinion. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, that's weird, especially if it's submitted as a nexus.
Right. It should have been more of a lay statement and not a medical type situation, in my opinion. But you know, it is what it is. But I can always tell when the veteran is a doctor. Based on the way they write, based on the evidence submitted, I can always tell they have some type of medical background. And here's the thing, when and we're gonna get off, but when you guys sit private DBQs, we do check the NPIs, we do check addresses, we check the ranges, and because I've Googled, I mean not Googled, but we have a NPI search. And the address provided was to a laundromat. Unless the examiner is practicing and washing their clothes at the same time, that's going to discredit that DBQ.
and that's another topic that we want to talk about disingenuous NPIs, using the NPI number. What goes behind an NPI? How do you know that an NPI is inactive or not active? Because I don't think that veterans really know that there's a certification behind an NPI, it being inactive, how long it's been inactive. It needs to be activated in order for that doctor's number to, you know, show up in the system. There's so much things that happen behind the scenes when it comes to an NPI. Veterans are not aware of that as well.
And also, there can be a harmless situation with that because for
Mhm.
insurance purposes, the
Mhm.
NPI information doesn't have to match up for most
Correct.
insurance providers. So,
Mhm.
unfortunately, you have this scenario where for VA purposes is the thing where for VA purposes, your NPI number has to match up and line up. When most
Mhm.
doctors don't put much effort into keeping it updated, they'll let it
Mhm.
lapse for like 5
Yes.
years or so. They won't update their phone number because they don't need to for any other circumstance.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I can see that being like, because the VSRs, man, they'll disqualify private DBQs like that if they don't have NPI number lining up a lot. Sometimes I won't say all.
Or no signatures, or
Yeah.
And that's
and
another
also,
topic that we can talk about, disingenuous DBQs as well.
well, also too, you can't go to a chiropractor for a mental health diagnosis. That's a
Can't.
specialty. I've seen it, and
Yeah.
for the life of me, I'm like, why did you pay for this? It's just
they
so
pay
many.
for
I
it?
don't know. Yeah,
You
they
can't
pay
even go to
for
a
it.
chiropractor for any kind of diagnosis because they're not a qualified clinician unless they have the right credentialing, right?
I
Like,
Yeah.
have
I
a
mean,
nexus letter from a chiropractor that somebody wants me to review right now.
I mean, they can make a nexus letter. They're a
They
medical
can do that,
doctor,
but
right?
they're not medical doctors a lot of the time. No, they do not have the same certification as a medical doctor. No, they do not. Like some of them can be a DO,
Some of them are.
yeah, but they have to like default chiropractors are not default qualified clinicians. They'd have to have additional education and certification behind their
they
name.
got to have some extra acronyms behind
Yes.
that.
As long as it says MDDO, they can
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, that. Yeah,
Yeah. But a
not
chiropractor
for
is not a
for
default doctor.
PTSD, not for
Yeah.
mental health.
Oh no, gosh, no,
Absolutely
not
not.
for that.
Yeah, no, that's not it.
And the
U.S.
other one,
Marine, you weren't here earlier,
cardiologist.
but we did introduce ourselves earlier. FF and Natural works with the VA. I am just a veteran, created this space called Her Vet Voice. I created this space actually because I felt like, women veterans really didn't get a voice and they needed help. So I created this space and then I just included everyone to come in and join in on the bandwagon to make sure that every veteran is being heard and seen and taken care of. So that's why I created this space. And so we are usually here every Sunday night at about 8:30ish. I guess I really need to come to YouTube a little bit more often because tonight's conversation was simply amazing. What are your thoughts?
And
I really like it.
One more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The other
I prefer this.
specialist.
I prefer this one over TikTok, honestly. Because we have a little bit more freedom on what we can discuss and what we can show. Versus on TikTok, you show your phone, you're banned, you flagged, and
I know how many nights I have to appeal showing my screen.
Yeah, so
Really?
Yeah, once sometimes if I try to show a DBQ or flip my screen in any kind of way, I have to appeal it because they would put a ban or I'm fighting for my life over there on TikTok most weeks. Yeah.
And then we get other people like Raider HQ that know what we're saying as Raiders can back up what we're saying.
Yes.
So we don't have to have people that be like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about.
They're not Raiders.
They're not Raiders. They're not.
No, I can tell you guys are Raiders. No, I can tell. Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful for that because if only you know what they've been combating on the other side of the fence.
Oh my goodness gracious.
But we'll put that behind us.
Yeah, no, over here is a really great platform. Honestly, we need more female veteran advocates, I want to say, to be honest with you, because whenever I look around, there's nothing but guys. I'm a social worker.
And I see the same thing, right? Because a lot of women, when it comes to like MST and, female different things that they're going through, there's never really a voice when it comes to women about what we endure at the VA, So I got tired of hearing, what is your spouse's social? I is my social, So I'm like, hello, can women get a voice here? Can we So I created this space called Her Vet's Voice.
And unfortunately, you know, we get questions like, well, are you a veteran? Are you this? I'm both. So I understand both sides of it. I understand the frustrating part of not being educated on the claims process. I understand the frustration when it comes to trying to get your disability, as well as understanding the processes of how the claims are viewed. Unfortunately, like you say, all raters are not the same. So you may get different, but if you have knowledgeable raters put together like this, you're going to get the right information.
Yeah. And we've seen the results since we've been going live. We've seen the results. Veterans have came back and let us know the 100% that they received, the increases they received, the amount of information that we put out weekly. We go live times a week. So we'll definitely be here in this space and definitely be coming back. And Raider HQ, you're welcome. If you guys can simply just subscribe to my channel. I'm new at doing this. This is not easy. And I'll try to come back as often as possible as I could to do this.
Yeah. And really quickly, when Raider HQ and Natural was talking earlier about the mental, that's a specialty. And then it's also audiology and dentistry. Those have to be done by those specialists specifically.
Yeah. Thank y'all for thank you, Raider HQ, for sharing
so much
and bringing people over. We appreciate that. We try to have a positive
space here.
Yes. But you know, me FF is probably like the calm when I'm the I'm the one that's gonna I'm the one that's gonna
I try to keep her calm.
I'll be calm. It's just I'll be like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And everybody that's here from my channel, if you can, obviously I always say watch 2 videos or 2 live streams. Give the person that I suggest a chance. Like, you don't have to believe me. Obviously, you know, you like what you like, but you know, give them a chance, because having more voices that are kind of focused on veteran-centric voices of helping the veteran to submit claims the right way, and not just for a, hey, come over here and, you know, like, I've got the secret sauce type stuff. You know, people that actually do the job on a daily basis, because we can have a difference of opinion. Right. And we should have a difference of opinion. When people start lining up dress right dress 100% of the time, that's unlikely, just based upon the nature of the job. But like and subscribe, guys, because we need to get them up higher, because it's not competition. It's actually helping veterans by getting more honest and integrity into the, you know, education process, because I'm an education channel. I'm hoping that this is what this is for.
It definitely is. It's just about education. If you look at all the videos I've posted, it's basically just education. There's no type of drama. There's none of that. No, it's just basically education. That's it.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. And I'll try to promote you guys.
Thank you.
If you give me a link, if you can, maybe on one of my videos, just give me a link for next Sunday's thing. I'll try to put a post up so that way it gets some, because I only put I had a few minutes notice and I just put a post up, but we can maybe advertise a little bit more and try to drag more people in to where, you know, they can give you guys a chance, because I'm really excited that all 3 of you are doing this. And you said there was a 4th person too that does this?
Yeah. No, it's usually just the 3 of us. We are here on Sundays, Mondays, and Fridays, but I'll be back here on Wednesday night and we'll figure out what topic we're going to talk about. We usually just answer a lot of questions, and we have usually a lot of people on TikTok. Like, I'm live on TikTok right now, and there are about 50 people in the live stream. So I go live on both ends so we can answer questions on both ends. But I'm going to get my TikTok community to come over to YouTube, so it's just one central spot, because it is a struggle answering questions back and forth or looking at both screens. But I'll come back here on Wednesday night and we'll create a topic, and I'll send you the link. And then we'll just, you know, go with it, because this is a much better atmosphere, showing them what we need to see and what they need to see, and having more open dialogue, you know, brings them the insight that they need. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah. And then maybe you can unban me.
I can. And as soon as I get off, I will.
It's okay.
So he got banned while we were for the
So
comment.
with like this thing, when you're clicking, I guess you have to make sure that you hover over the person because you can't, I don't know, whatever. I'm trying to figure it out behind, and StreamYard is just yeah.
So StreamYard connects to your YouTube Studio.
Yeah.
So you have to just go into the settings in YouTube Studio and then go to community moderation.
Okay.
And then user management. And then it'll probably show me as being hidden users. And then you would just take me out of there and say,
Gotcha. I see it. I see, because I see the other guy in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And I'm sorry he was having a bad day, it seems, but
it's okay. And I'll unblock him. So I just wanted to put him in a little timeout so he'll understand that here is just, we're just
some holy water.
He's just having a bad day.
Yeah.
Look at Spencer said 10 out of 10. Those on PPT, well done. Thank you. Raider got banned by mistake, guys.
It was a
look,
mistake.
you talk out of turn. You gotta pay the price.
No.
Thank you, guys.
I really appreciate you for coming up, because I've heard a lot of great things about you. I'm fairly new. I just was scrolling one day on TikTok and I came across Her Vets live, and I was just in the comments answering questions, and then it just kind of went from there, and then we just kind of been going.
Get up here, girl. Come on up.
So FF and I have been I started this last year, August, this channel, and on TikTok, and FF had been coming on live with me ever since I started this channel. One day she was just in the comments. We linked together. She answered questions. We actually just teamed up and answered the questions together. I went behind the scenes asking for insight because I do consultations with veterans to get them on the right track. And so we just started to connect, and then it just flowed from then. So I had been going live for a long time, since last year, on 3 nights a week. We would come up there 8 o'clock to probably almost sometimes midnight, answering questions. And we've just built a community just as simple as that. Just 3 ladies just doing it.
We had there's a QRT that pops in. She's just not here tonight.
Ooh,
but she keeps us on track.
Oh man, see, I think you might know about me and QRT about mine.
Yeah.
I'll have to play nice. I swear, it has to do with my regional office, where my QRT were mostly related to people in senior leadership, and they were not put in the place because of their expertise. Like the best and the brightest were not put in the job. So you'd have missed opportunities for like training effectively, and it would take a year to get somebody corrected on, like, because they do the wrong thing, claim after claim after claim after claim, and they'd have like 100% quality, but you're always fixing their errors, right?
Yeah, that's impossible to have 100% quality and you getting errors like that.
Yeah.
And actually, when I started rating,
I do hate
they
QRT.
told me.
I do. QRT.
Okay, good to know.
They said that
our veterans as well.
2 years. It takes 2 years to get a feel, and I'm gonna tell you honestly, it took me 5 to feel comfortable.
Wow.
It took me 5 years to actually feel, where I could come up and I can actually talk what I talk now. So, but I've been doing it for a while. I'm like 19 years in now. So.
Hey, no. Yeah, see, you're sharing things. You need to stop doing that. You need to stop. I'm not playing.
I'll edit this. I'll edit.
Please do. I'm not playing. Like
I will. I'll edit before I hit the share.
Yeah.
I'll edit.
So we're 232. Yeah, and I mean that. Like, as good natured as it seems,
232.
you guys can't.
40.
Because
okay,
honestly, people get weird. And it might be different at your regional offices. And if it is, cool. If it's not, like my regional office was very like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? So, but.
And then you got people that, are kind of disgruntled because the information that we put out, we don't ask for money. And those people ask
comments
for money.
like, Raider HQ, the comments, I'm giving all the information. I'm telling everything. I am everything but, the comments are but whatever. It doesn't stop us from doing what we're doing.
No, and I say keep doing what you're doing because you guys
Yeah.
have a fantastic formula. I like it. A lot of people, whenever, because I only have like 12,000 subscribers or something like that, but
You're huge in the
no,
community. Huge.
like there's people with like 160,000. But
Yeah.
as you grow larger, people will get interested, and I can't. I'm a veteran myself, so I have a mental health disorder. I can't show my face, or else it gives me. I wouldn't be able to talk right. I would be so nervous that. But people get very interested in who you are, what you are. They know what my dogs are. They know, like, I'll talk about my dogs, and they know their names. They know everything about them. So you
They
do
pay
kind of
close
become a
attention.
micro celebrity.
Yeah.
Because people are wanting your information. It is a life-changing amount of information for a lot of people. And what is casual information for us, they didn't know.
Yeah.
And it changes their lives.
For them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Understood.
Jason. You know my dog's name.
Well, thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back here on Wednesday night. I'll create the thumbnail and I'll share it with you later once I unblock you. And then we'll go from there. And thank you to my TikTok community. I hope you guys come on over to YouTube because it is a struggle of trying to juggle both. But anyway, you guys have an amazing week. Remember to be kind to each other. Remember that the information that you learn here, please share it with another veteran. I'll post the links in the comments to the peer review articles that you guys are requesting. And I will see you on Wednesday night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you all. Bye.
You're not alone. You got a voice. Stand strong. Stay informed.